Right, everybody, so after winning the first three games, we are facing absolute chess legend from Kazakhstan, Kazgaliev Murtaz, that used to be a top 100 player. He's obviously past his prime, but he's got a lot of big wins under his belt. He has defeated the likes of Veselin Topalov and Alexander Grishuk in the past, but can he resist the Jobava London of Alex Banzinga? That is the question that everybody is wondering. That is what we are going to find out in today's video. So I'm starting with the Jobava London. He invited me to play the French by going e4. I'm not interested in the French. I'm sticking with my guns, and we do have the pinning line. And after knight f6, bishop to d3, important move order. Common mistake for beginners that is to start with knight f3, allow knight e4. So bishop d3, c5, and now I go d takes on c5. Now, most players would recapture with the bishop, but my opponent, with his next move, this is a sign that he's super well booked up against the Jobava. So this is going to be a very interesting game from a theoretical point of view, because my opponent is playing the toughest line possible. This is the main recommendation of the computer. Bishop takes on c3, ruining white's queenside pawn structure. But after bishop g5, we are trying to make the argument that we will be compensating for the damaged pawn structure by attacking the enemy king. So knight e5 has a big threat of knight g4 with queen f3. Ganging up on that pin, if I may say so. Therefore, not an easy choice for black. g5. g5. Okay, I don't have much of a choice. Bishop g3. And now knight e4. I've definitely had a bunch of games with this position before. Sadly, not really in the day I was preparing for this match, but still familiar waters for myself, for yours truly, here. And now queen to h5. This is the drawback of my opponent's last move. We are attacking the pawn, and black doesn't have that many ways to defend. And I believe at this point my opponent forgot about that I'm planning to go knight g4. So he already touched the piece and was thinking where to place the queen. Queen f6 seems to be the best bet, but already black is in trouble. I have a simple double attack, winning a pawn, or I can go f4. f4 is another very tempting move. I just couldn't really remember which one was best. f4 is best by the computer, but knight g4 also fine. Queen g6. Don't have much of a choice but to trade queens, otherwise I would be slowing down the pace of the game. So we do go for the trade and pick up a pawn. Quite surprisingly, we do win a pawn early on in the game. And after king h7, knight to g4, only move. Bishop to a6. Trying to finish some development while applying pressure. Trading is kind of forced, and then bishop to e5, protecting while looking forward to play f3, kicking the knight away so that we can play knight f6 check in the future. My opponent goes rook ac8, reinforcing the threat, pressuring the weak pawn. And at this point, I have a choice, obviously, between many moves, but the most natural thing to do is something like f3, try to get rid of the knight. But I was already eyeballing ideas of playing f4. Looking forward to potentially rook lift. Rook f3, rook h3. I need one more piece. That would be enough to checkmate. The living chess legend. f3. Knight takes on c3. Rook e1. Stopping any checks. Bringing the last piece into the game. And you just know that I'm preparing f4, rook f3. Will that be enough? My opponent tries to counterattack. Knight to b4. Looking forward to take on c2, and then I don't really have such an easy move. My rook is almost trapped, actually. At this point, it's either f4 or knight f6 check. One of the moves is winning, the other one is not. I played f4. f4. f4, very natural. Preparing a rook f3, rook h3. But for some reason, this is not the top choice of the computer. Pawn takes on f4. I mean, I can go rook f3, but then g5. And I'm looking at check, king g6, check on h6, king f5. Attacking the knight. I don't see the mate, so I just recapture. Pawn takes. The position is very complicated. My opponent goes knight takes on c2, hitting the rook. There is no time to defend at this point. If I go for check, he's already preparing to maybe sacrifice. So I go rook to f3. Setting up a bit of a trap. If you take, white has at least a perpetual. But after knight h6 check, king h7, knight f7, king j, knight g5, it was a mating net. So my opponent goes g5. The only move to stay in the game. Opening up the path for the king. Damn. My opponent really likes long travels. He traveled from Kazakhstan all the way to Arad, Romania. Might as well take it step by step with his king. I'm calculating the check. King g6, rook h6, king f5. I cannot pinpoint the checkmate. And I'm very committed at this point. Maybe it's best to take the knight. But I go for the check. At this point, I cannot back down. My intuition tells me that there must be something. Knight to f2. Threatening to mate in one. You still cannot take the rook. You cannot take the rook. My opponent goes gf. Best move. My rook is under attack. I go bishop takes on c3. Yeah, at this point, I realize there's no way to add more fuel to the attack, but the damage has already been made. I lost a bunch of pawns in the process, which brings the question of why not do it in the first place? Rook to c2. Okay, g4. My opponent's king is a little bit exposed, but I'm getting really down on the clock. fg, hg. g4 check, and my opponent was about to play king f4, but realized rook e6 gives white an easy game. So in the last moment, he changed his mind and made a pretty good practical decision with king e5, where I actually ended up giving the wrong check. And after king d4, I accidentally lost on time, but the position was busted at this point anyways. Now, unfortunately, as we say in Romania, my candle went out right in front of the church, because all I had to do was play the same way as I did in the game, just throw in this very simple and obvious check. Knight f6, I simply didn't realize how huge of a factor it played to lure his king on h6 by the way the game has developed, simply because after this g5 move we get an extra option of taking with a check, meaning that black is not going to be in time to take with the rook, and you can either go for forking ideas or simple attacking moves. Obviously, I'm aware that I must have missed a free win, so it's a little bit annoying, but gotta keep it together, because in the next round, I need to come back with a victory against the FIDE Master. So thank you guys for all the support, and I'll see you in the next one.